Sometimes the deepest loneliness a woman feels is not when she's physically alone, but when her heart carries burdens with no one to share them with. A woman with no friends often walks through life quietly, holding her storms inside, navigating her journey with strength no one sees. But what she forgets is that her worth is not defined by who stands beside her. It's defined by the one who created her. In every moment she feels unseen, Allah is gently reminding her that He is closer than anyone she's ever lost. Her solitude is not a punishment, it's a space where Allah is rebuilding her, reshaping her, and preparing her for something greater than she imagined. You said, loneliness often feels like an empty room within the heart, a space that echoes with silence, making a woman wonder why she walks through life without friends, without the companionship that others seem to find so effortlessly. But what she may not realize is that loneliness, in its most unexpected form, can be one of the deepest invitations from Allah. A call to return to Him in a way that only solitude can make possible. Sometimes Allah removes people from our lives not as a sign of rejection, but as a gentle redirection. He clears the noise around us so we can finally hear what our soul has been trying to say for years. When a woman finds herself alone, it is not always a sign that something is wrong with her. Often it is a sign that Allah wants her undivided heart, her unshared focus, her unfiltered sincerity. He knows that when hearts cling too tightly to people, they begin to forget the one who created the heart itself. So He allows seasons of isolation, moments where silence becomes a teacher and stillness becomes a mirror. In that quiet space, a woman begins to see things she never noticed before. She starts to understand the subtle ways Allah has been guiding her, protecting her, and saving her from paths that would have broken her. Without friends to distract her, without social circles to keep her busy, she is guided to look inward and upward. It is in this state that she learns the sweetness of dua whispered late at night, the comfort of reciting Quran when no one is watching, the serenity of knowing that Allah is the only one who truly listens without judgment. She begins to realize that Allah is not distant. He is the closest one to her, closer than the friends she longs for, closer than the people she misses, closer even than her own heartbeat. Loneliness becomes a space where she is taught to depend on Allah in ways she never depended on Him before. It teaches her that her emotional survival does not depend on people staying. It depends on Allah never leaving. And He never does. Allah is Al-Wali, the protective friend. He is Al-Latif, the one who understands the whispers of her sadness even when she cannot put them into words. When she cries quietly because she feels unwanted or unseen, those tears are not overlooked. They are collected by the one who knows exactly what they mean. A woman with no friends may think she is alone, but she is actually being held, carried, and shaped by the most merciful one. In these moments, Allah may be preparing her heart for friendships, yet to come friendships that are purer, deeper, and more aligned with her values than any she has ever known. Or perhaps He is teaching her that not every woman is meant to walk with a crowd. Some women are meant to walk with purpose, with depth, and with a connection to Allah so strong that the world cannot pull them away. Her loneliness becomes a sacred space where she discovers who she is without the noise of others' expectations, where she learns the value of her own company, and where she realizes that the emptiness she feels is not a void. It is an invitation to fill her heart with the one who never abandons His servants. There comes a moment in every woman's life when she realizes that solitude is not always a weakness, nor is it a sign that she is failing socially or emotionally. Sometimes solitude is the very place where she discovers her own strength. When a woman has no friends, she is often left alone with her thoughts, her fears, her reflections, and her inner voice. And within that stillness, she begins to understand parts of herself that companionship often keeps hidden. Solitude strips away the layers she wears to please others and reveals the authentic heart underneath the heart that has its own courage, its own beauty, and its own resilience. In the quiet, she learns that she is more than the relationships she lost or the people who never stayed. She begins to realize that her worth was never meant to be measured by how many people surround her, but by how deeply she can stand firm within herself. This loneliness teaches her emotional independence, the kind that frees her from relying on people for validation. She learns to reassure herself, to comfort herself, to be kind to herself, and to understand that strength is not loud or visible. Sometimes strength is silent and deeply internal. It is the ability to wake up every morning without external encouragement and still choose to move forward. It is the ability to sit with her own thoughts and not fear them, to face her wounds without running away, and to heal without clinging to others as a lifeline. This journey within solitude pushes her to grow emotionally in ways she never imagined, because the absence of others forces her to confront who she truly is, what she truly wants, and what truly matters to her. Spiritually, solitude becomes a sanctuary where she finds clarity. The noise of the world often distracts the heart, but in silence, the whispers of the soul become louder. She starts to notice how her heart softens when she turns to Allah, how her mind calms when she recites even a single verse of the Quran, how her breathing steadies when she makes dhikr, and how her burdens feel lighter when she speaks to her Creator in quiet dua. She begins to see that the strength she always searched for outside was actually planted inside her by Allah long before she ever felt alone. This solitude becomes a training ground for spiritual resilience, teaching her to rely on the one who never disappoints, who never leaves, and who knows her better than she knows herself. In this phase of being alone, she learns to set boundaries, to protect her peace, and to recognize that not every person is meant to enter her life. She becomes more selective, more intentional, and more aware of who drains her and who uplifts her. Solitude sharpens her intuition, strengthens her self-respect, and deepens her connection with Allah. She starts to carry herself differently, not because people validate her, but because she validates herself through her relationship with Allah and her growing inner strength. She learns that her loneliness was not emptiness. It was space being cleared for emotional and spiritual growth that could only bloom in silence. There comes a point where a woman realizes that some people were never meant to stay on her path, no matter how much she cared for them or how deeply she wished they would walk beside her. Letting go is never easy, especially for a heart that loves with sincerity, but sometimes Allah removes people because their presence would have blocked her growth, limited her potential, or pulled her away from the person she is meant to become. When a woman has no friends, she often blames herself, wondering what she did wrong or why she wasn't enough. But what she doesn't see is the unseen protection of Allah, quietly guiding her away from friendships that were draining her, distracting her, or directing her toward places that were not meant for her soul. There are friendships that look beautiful on the outside but slowly suffocate the heart from within. Bonds built on convenience, gossip, competition, or emotional dependency can feel comforting at first, but eventually they strip away a woman's confidence and clarity. When Allah takes such people away, it may feel like abandonment, but in reality it is divine mercy. He removes them so she can see her own value without the filters of comparison or judgment. She begins to understand that her worth is not based on how many people choose her, but on how lovingly Allah protects her from those who would harm her spirit. Letting go also teaches her the difference between attachment and connection. Attachments weigh her down, making her believe she cannot survive without certain people. Connections, on the other hand, uplift her, remind her of Allah, and bring peace to her heart. When Allah removes attachments, He is freeing her from dependence on what was never meant to sustain her. A woman who learns to release what is temporary becomes lighter, clearer, and stronger. She starts to see that not everyone who leaves is a loss. Some departures are blessings disguised as heartbreak. In the process of letting go, she begins to heal. She rediscovers the corners of her heart that were neglected while she was pouring herself into people who did not appreciate her. She learns to redirect her energy toward her own growth, toward becoming emotionally whole, spiritually grounded, and mentally steady. She stops chasing people who were never running toward her and starts walking toward Allah, knowing that He replaces what she loses with something better, something purer, something more aligned with her soul. Through this experience, she gains wisdom. She learns to recognize signs she once ignored, to trust her intuition, and to understand that peace is more valuable than company. She becomes grateful for the friendships that ended because they taught her what she should never again accept. She becomes grateful for the loneliness that followed because it gave her space to breathe, reflect, and realign her heart with her purpose. Letting go teaches her that her journey is not meant to be walked with everyone. Some people are chapters, not the whole book. Some people enter to teach lessons, not to stay forever. And some people leave so that she can finally rise into the woman Allah intended her to be. There comes a moment in a woman's life when she realizes that the companionship she has been searching for in people was always meant to be found first in Allah. When a woman has no friends, she often feels unseen, unloved, or overlooked, but in the silence of her solitude, she begins to feel something else, an unexpected nearness from the one who never leaves. She starts to notice the gentle ways Allah speaks to her heart, not through words but through calmness, through unexpected ease, through tears that bring relief instead of pain. She begins to understand that peace is not found in the presence of people. Peace is found in the presence of Allah, who knows her better than anyone she wishes could understand her. When she sits alone, she may feel the weight of the world pressing on her chest, but the moment she whispers a dua, she feels that weight soften. She realizes that Allah listens to her in ways no friend ever did, with full attention and unmatched compassion. He hears the things she cannot say out loud, the fears she hides behind a quiet smile, the sadness she carries in the corners of her heart. Even when she feels forgotten by the world, Allah reminds her through subtle signs that He never overlooks her. Every breath she takes, every tear He wipes away, every moment of calm that settles in her chest is a reminder that His companionship is constant. Unlike the temporary presence of people who come and go, in her solitude she learns to speak to Allah with honesty. She doesn't have to pretend, perform, or adjust herself to be accepted. She can express her confusion, her doubts, her hopes, her disappointments, and know that she is heard without judgment. This closeness nurtures her heart, making her realize that true companionship is not measured by how many people sit beside you, but by knowing the one who is closer to you than your jugular vein. She begins to feel a unique peace, one that does not depend on phone calls, gatherings, or friendships. It is a peace rooted in knowing she is held by the most merciful, even when no human hand is there to support her. Slowly, she discovers that the emptiness she once felt begins to fill with tranquility. Her heart becomes softer, more aware, more connected. She starts to see that the quiet moments she once feared are actually invitations to connect with Allah on a deeper level. In those moments, she learns that the love of Allah is unlike any friendship she has ever experienced: consistent, unconditional, healing. His companionship doesn't replace human connection, but it completes her in a way that human beings simply cannot. And when her heart is anchored in Allah, the absence of people no longer feels like loneliness. It feels like freedom. Through this connection, she also gains clarity. She understands that the people who left were part of a divine plan that would lead her back to him. She realizes that the emptiness she once resented was actually a doorway to spiritual intimacy. She begins to walk with a sense of contentment, knowing that as long as she has Allah, she is never truly alone, and the peace she finds in his companionship becomes the foundation of her strength. Her resilience and her healing. There comes a time when a woman looks at her life and realizes that the absence of friends does not diminish her purpose or her value. She begins to understand that her journey was never meant to be validated by crowds or shaped by the approval of others. Instead, her path is shaped by Allah, who knows the deepest intentions of her heart and the potential she carries even when no one else sees it. When a woman has no friends, she often feels as though she is lacking something essential, but what she is truly being given is a rare opportunity to grow into the woman Allah designed her to be, unfiltered by others' expectations, unpressured by social demands, and unhindered by the noise of the world. In the quietness of her life, she discovers pieces of herself she didn't even know existed. She learns to listen to her own voice, to trust her decisions, and to understand her emotions without needing constant reassurance from others. She begins to notice her strength emerging in unexpected ways. In the mornings, she motivates herself to rise. In the challenges, she overcomes without a support circle. In the tears, she wipes alone. And in the courage she shows when no one is watching. These moments are not signs of isolation, they are signs of transformation. They are subtle reminders that she is being shaped into a woman who can stand strong not because people stand with her, but because Allah stands beside her. She starts to understand that some women are chosen for a different kind of journey, one that requires solitude, introspection, and quiet resilience. These women walk with a purpose that does not require an audience. Their strength is grown in silence, their character is refined through difficulty, and their connection with Allah becomes the fuel that guides them forward. As she moves through life with fewer distractions, she becomes more aware of her own potential. She realizes that she has gifts, talents, and qualities that were overshadowed when she tried to fit into circles that were never meant for her. In her solitude, she finally has space to explore them, nurture them, and develop them. Slowly, she begins to rise, not in the eyes of people, but in the sight of Allah. She becomes more patient, more compassionate, more grounded, and more spiritually aware. She learns that her worth is not determined by social validation, but by inner integrity and divine connection. She becomes the kind of woman who can walk through storms with dignity because her strength comes from faith, not friendship. She becomes the kind of woman who can turn her loneliness into worship, her silence into reflection, and her solitude into growth. Through this process, she starts to see that not having friends is not a flaw but a season. And in this season, Allah is preparing her for something bigger. Perhaps for friendships that align with her values, perhaps for responsibilities that require emotional maturity, or perhaps for a purpose that demands a strong, centered, spiritually anchored heart. She becomes a woman who no longer waits for people to understand her. She focuses instead on understanding herself and deepening her relationship with Allah. She begins to walk with quiet confidence, knowing that her journey is sacred, her heart is guided, and her transformation is unfolding exactly as Allah intends.